fly out of there. And there's also aerial refueling. We've been talking about using B-2 bombers out of Diego Garcia to perhaps deliver this GBU-57. It's probably so far away, 3,500 miles, that it would need some aerial refueling assets. So we've got those assets available in theater. We've got everything I think the Israelis will get lots of support if President Trump wants to provide it from these carrier battle groups and the assets that are already in the area.
We have the assets, and let's talk capability here, because one of Iran's nuclear sites is buried deep underground. The U.S. does have the capacity of reaching it with bunker busters. Describe how that would work.
Well, this is probably the most capable conventional munition in the world, the GBU-57. It can penetrate up to 200 feet of hardened facilities. The problem in Fordo is that some of the facilities, I understand, that some of the centrifuges may be as deep as 300 feet. But nevertheless, it's a massive bomb, delivers about 5,000 pounds of explosives and 30,000 pounds. And there's only one asset really in the world, the B-2 bomber, that can deliver this. And as I mentioned, it's about 3,500 miles away. But this is incredible munition. I have it in Afghanistan. We use it a couple of times. It's very, very effective. But the question is, can it penetrate deep enough to really get at all the centrifuges? I submit that we would probably have to have at least a half dozen of these things that we have to put on site at Fordo to really have the effect that we want.
Well, meanwhile, Israel is saying that it's flying unimpeded from the skies of Iran, that Iran's military has been degraded by the strikes. We know about the U.S. capabilities. What are the capabilities of Israel's military and also Iran's now?
Well, I would say Israel's got the upper hand, without a doubt. They've got total air superiority over Iran right now, over all of Iran. They've demonstrated that. They've also had intelligence dominance, which is absolutely critical in this fight. So, I mean, there's no way that the Iranian military can match the Israeli military. In fact, they do have some assets, the F-14s, MiG-29s, and whatnot, but the only thing they're really able to use right now is the Shahab-3 and the guided missiles. They've got perhaps 2,000 or so guided munitions, ballistic missiles that they can fire at Israel, but a lot of the launching sites have been taken out by the Israelis, again, due to their air superiority. So it's really not a fair fight at this point. Israel's got the upper hand, and they are seeking to take advantage of that.
They actually need the United States' help then?
They do if they want to take out Fordo. If they want to have, because the United States is the only country in the world that can provide that deep penetrating GBU-57 capability, and the B-2 bomber that can deliver that capability. So yes, they would need the United States to do that. If they didn't have the United States, the only other way they could do that, they'd have to do some kind of a ground attack, believe it or not. I mean, some kind of special operation where they'd have to secure the area and send guys with bombs into these tunnels to blow everything up in there. That can be done. I would not underestimate the Israelis, their capability to do that. And of course, invading another country, putting boots on the ground in Iran would be a major escalation of the war and probably outrage the entire community. But they could potentially do that.
Retired Brigadier General Steve Anderson, Commander-in-Chief of the Exercise Decision. Thank you so much. Much more on the situation in Iran ahead, but up next, the shocking and chilling assassination of lawmakers in Minnesota. That we're learning just how far the suspect wanted to go and how police say he managed to do it. And later, the woman who spotted the gunman and helped end the largest manhunt in state history, talking about what she saw.
I've decided to take on a very anxious space. Made with these tools and rage to be a slave. Perspective, Sunday at 9 on CNN. Asthma. Does it have you missing out on when you love? When you love, get back to better breathing with December. An add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma taken once every 8 weeks. December is opposite of breathing problems. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Ask your doctor if December is right for you.
Chevy Equinox is more than an SUV. It's your guide. And your box spread. It's your dugout. And your safety check. It's your bedtime. Big time. And your makeout with, too. It's more than an SUV. It's your Equinox. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Let's go. It's that one person for our T-Mobile home internet commercial. Can I talk really fast? T-Mobile home internet ranks number one in customer satisfaction for home wireless internet. Wow, you're good. Get T-Mobile home internet. Just $35 a month with our 5-year price guarantee. Choose Advil liquid gels for faster, stronger, and longer-lasting relief than Tylenol rapid release gels. Because Advil targets pain at the source of inflammation. So for faster pain relief, Advil, the pain relief. Have great performance starts with a great night's sleep. Thanks to new Natron Sleep and Restore, which helps me be this me, this me, this me. I'm kidding. To be my best at all this, I have to be my best at this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natron.
New Natron Sleep and Restore for your ultimate restorative sleep. Nearly home. Just need more space. Here we go. Suffocating. Oh no. Is this damn soap with the razor? Only found one. Okay, let's simmer down here. You'll need Realtor.com, the app the pros trust most. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you can find the one today. See it? Better put a key ring on it.
You can say that again.
You better put a key ring on it. Key ring with Realtor.com.
Dawn trusts Prevagen for her brain, and this is her story.
My name is Dawn. I live in Central Texas. I'm a military spouse and a certified dog trainer. I've seen many commercials about Prevagen. The people in the commercials were so authentic, and I thought, why not give it a try? I've been taking Prevagen now for 3 years. It's been a confidence booster. It's made me feel really good about myself.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
Don't worry. DashPass saves you money on DoorDash, so you can skip the trip to the grocery store and stay right where you need to be.
Popcorn? Okay. Want to go get dinner?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll order.
You save big on orders. You can afford to give yourself a pass.
What do we think?
DashPass by DoorDash. Your door to more savings. Welcome to Visible, the ultimate wireless hack. It's one line, powered with unlimited data on Verizon's 5G. Now just $20 a month for 1 year, guaranteed. Stream, scroll, browse, and connect with free coverage, plus unlimited hotspot included. That's a top-tier network at a budget-friendly cost. But you already knew about that, didn't you? For a limited time, get Visible for $20 a month, guaranteed for 1 year.
Millionaire Boys Club, 3 Sunday, July 13 on CNN.
It is no exaggeration to say that his crimes have left nightmares.
Political assassination, that he says, was meant to strike at the very heart of his state and democracy itself. This is the man he's talking about. Police say that Van Belcher carried out the targeted shootings of Democratic state lawmakers, which led to the largest manhunt in the state's history. He's facing both state and federal murder charges, and prosecutors could even see the death penalty at the federal level. Now, this is what police say he looked like when he showed up at the door of his victims. He was wearing a hyper-realistic silicone mask, and he was disguised to fool anyone.
He concealed himself as a police officer, outfitting his black SUV with police lights and a police license plate, wearing a black tactical vest and body armor, carrying a police flashlight and a handgun.
Officials say that this is the car that Belcher was driving. This is the fake license plate that says police. And this is what police found inside the SUV after it was abandoned. They say that he had 3 AK-47 assault rifles. Investigators believe that he had been planning the attack for quite some time. He apparently had a hit list with more than 45 names, including prominent Democrats.
He researched his victims and their families. He used the internet and other tools to find their addresses and names, the names of their family members. He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes.
The attacks, they're just chilling. I mean, investigators say that Belter first showed up at the home of State Senator John Hoffman. The senator and his wife came to the door and quickly knew something was wrong.
They shut it up. You're not a cop. You're not a police officer. Belter then announced, "This is a robbery," and forced himself into their home. When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Belter out and stop him from entering his home, Belter shot him repeatedly. Belter then shot Miss Hoffman.
This is the door from the Hoffman's home. It is riddled with bullet holes. Family said that Senator Hoffman was shot 9 times. His wife was hit 8 times, but they survived, and they're now recovering in the hospital. Police say that Belter then went to the home of another Minnesota lawmaker.
I forgot my glasses. That's why I feel naked, bitch. Okay. That makes sense. I'm like, why do I feel naked?
Was probably the home of State Senator and Rest. By that point, police had learned of the shooting at Hoffman's home. So an officer went to Rest's home to check it out. Police say the officer saw Belter's car parked down the street.
The New Hope police officer pulled up next to Belter's car, rolled down her window, and attempted to speak with him. Belter did not respond. According to the officer, he just sat there and stared straight ahead.
That officer then went to Rest's home. By the time backup got there, Belter's car was gone. The police say that he had moved on to the home of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, who served as Speaker of the House for 6 years. Now, officers captured this image of Belter outside of her home when they got there for a safety check. They say this happened next.
He rushed into the house through the front door, firing into it. He repeatedly fired into the house, and when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark.
The police say Belter escaped out of the back of the house. Shortly after the shootings, he texted his own family. One of them says, quote, "Dad went to war last night. I don't want to say more."
Girl, he had kids? Damn, their life is over with, bitch.
Belter about a day and a half later. He was in a rural area about an hour's drive away from the sites of those attacks. I'll be hearing from the woman who spotted him right before his arrest in just a second. But first, I want to get to criminologist Casey Jordan, former Minneapolis Police Chief Vidya and former FBI agent Chris O'Leary. Welcome to all of you on this day of these revelatory, chilling details. I mean, Casey, the criminal complaint states the gunman went to great lengths to disguise his identity and also to imitate police. What does that tell you about his mindset?
The outline of the details that we just heard in that presser is really astounding because we not only know that he did a tremendous amount of research and got not just the names of them, but their addresses, but he cased the joint, he surveilled them. He has notes next to their names, like married with 2 children, big house by the golf course, 2 different ways in and out. And this is the thought process of an incredibly dangerous, methodical, systematic criminal. And to compound that, we know that after he shot the Hoffmans, and surely thought he left them for dead, the identity was so unfazed that he went on to 2 other locations before even reaching the Hoffman's house. And at no point did he ever think, this is madness, I need to stop this. He just kept going. And if he had not been intervened at his 4th location, there's no doubt in my mind that he would have committed even more mayhem and had more killings.
Unbelievable. And of course, then impersonating officers as well as his vehicle by which to commit the alleged acts. Chris, I mean, authorities say the suspect stalked his victims by prey. Allegedly had voluminous writings we talked about as well. So What more would the FBI need to try to piece together what happened here? I mean, there's got to be a digital footprint, obviously. There's his family to talk with.
Cut it out.
Friends, writings. Walk me through that investigation.
Yeah, so the FBI is now looking back rather than, most terrorist attacks or, incidents of political violence. Those incidents happen after piecing the investigation together afterwards. So the FBI is trying to illuminate his entire life. With his friends and associates, family members, obviously. Who did he interact with? And really getting down to what is his ideology or his grievance. There's been a lot of assertions that this is political violence, and it certainly has the hallmarks of it because of the list. Why did he go after these individuals? Was it a single issue? Was it the abortion rights issue? Was he, has been alluded to also, a Christian nationalist? We have some parts of that. We believe in more of a Christian identity movement, a Christian national state.
And finding all this out helps you do what? Figure out the turns or other people might back you?
Find out if there's other people following this ideology, number one. If there was some larger plot at play here, but also the charges that you can proceed with. Is this an act of terrorism and political violence? Or was this an individual at a grievance against these individuals for some unknown reason and he's just acting out for that? Or, it's clearly a homicidal maniac. Did he just want to go after people? That it's going to make a splash. It's really hard to get inside of his mind and determine why he did this. It's also something in kind of the terrorism and political violence world now, which is this, we call it salad bar, where people are taking different pieces of ideologies or grievances, kind of creating their own. There's not much of a gateway to get in when you can create your own kind of movement, your own ideology.
Chief Rondo, a local police officer came across the gun in the home of another state lawmaker and thought that he was providing security, it seems, so the officer apparently moved on. Was it a breakdown in protocol in some way?
No, Laura, I don't think it was a breakdown in protocol. As both Casey and Christopher had mentioned, the suspect here, Vance Belter, he went through absolutely painstaking details to conceal himself to the public. Everything down from the license plate decals to the vest he was wearing, to the flashlight, even with the silicone mask that he wore. That officer did the right thing, was checking up. And during the press conference, it was Chief Bruley of the Bloomington Police Department that said to the media, if he had walked into that media room right there wearing what he had on, everyone in that room would have thought he was a police officer. And you can imagine in the darkness of the hour when that officer rolled up on him. I would actually say, Laura, what occurred over the last 43 hours, it was a highly complex, multi-jurisdictional law enforcement operation. And I got to tip my hat off to the Department of Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson, BCA Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans. They really put together a finely tuned law enforcement operation that, again, from 43 hours out, they were able to capture him. And he also went to 4 different suburbs. We mentioned the first shooting occurred in Champlin. The second one, where the elected official was at home, was in Maple Grove. The third one was in Robbinsdale, where that officer happened to interrupt him. And then, of course, I think we have to give credit to the Brooklyn Park Police Department as they approached State Representative Melissa Portman's home. They engaged with him. There was fire. They were shooting at each other. And for them to have engaged the way that they did, he had completely.
Bitch.
So that vehicle were AK-47s, multiple ammunition rounds. He left what he needed to fulfill those other targets, and he couldn't do it. And so I really applaud the law enforcement operation that took place that got him into custody within 43 hours. Sadly, we lost, obviously, Melissa Hortman and her husband, and we're praying for a full recovery for Senator Hoffman and his wife. But Minnesota law enforcement needs to be commended on how quickly and fast they performed that operation.
Truly remarkable, and so tragic to think about how this has transpired and what could have been as well. Thank you so much, everyone. So how did Minnesota's largest manhunt ever even come to an end. All because one woman spotted the suspect near her friend's home. And I get next. Plus, one of the top Democratic officials alleged on the target list is going to be to talk about the alarming rise of political violence.
To understand the world, we need to know the truth. And that's why we follow the facts, wherever they lead, no matter how far we have to go.
Angola is a hidden gem. Full of potential. We look forward to welcoming you back, time and time again. Now and in the future, Lola awaits.
Cheer up. We always had trouble with your weight. Me too.
Discover the power. With Wegovy, I lost 35 pounds. Some lost over 46 pounds.
And I'm keeping the weight off.
Reducing my risk. Wegovy is the only weight management medicine proven to reduce risk of major cardiovascular events such as death, heart attack, or stroke in adults with heart disease and obesity. Don't use Wegovy with semaglutide or GLP-1 medicines or in children under 12. Don't take if you or your family have HCC, NEN2, or allergic to it. Tell your provider if you plan to have surgery or a procedure, are breastfeeding, pregnant, or planning to be. Stop taking and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or any of these allergic reactions. Serious side effects may include pancreas inflammation and gallbladder or severe stomach problems. Call your prescriber if you have any of these symptoms. Wegovy may cause low blood sugar in people with diabetes, especially if you take medicines to treat diabetes. Call your prescriber about vision changes, if you feel your heart racing while at rest, or if you have mental changes. Depression or thoughts of suicide may occur. Common side effects include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, stomach pain, flu or upset, headache, feeling tired, dizzy or bloated, gas, and heartburn. Some side effects lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
With Wegovy.
I'll lose weight.
I'm keeping it on.
I'll lower my saving risk.
Ask your prescriber about Wegovy.
You're a joy. The overwhelming relief after Miralax helps you go. Miralax works naturally with the water in your body, putting you in a supernaturally good mood. Miralax, free your guts to free your mood.
Looks like allergy season is back. Time to start saving on your prescriptions. Another good reason to check GoodRx. Visit your Audi dealer and lease the all-new 2025 Audi Q5 Quattro Premium for $699 per month.
We asked Howie Mandel to describe new hands-free cozy fit sketcher slip-ins. They're like little soft puff jackets for your feet. These are like cozy little slippers for the street. Introducing new hands-free cozy fit sketcher slip-ins. Ultra comfortable sneakers you can step into with no thin countertop.
All right, here we go. The one guys have been waiting for. Put your masks on when you get in the bank. Then crowd control. Crowd control. Begin the races. Shout at them. Scare them. You've got Demolitions, Haggard, your first jobs to support the guards. Again, try without and hit the vault. I've given you special carbine. Use them wisely. Like I said, this is a big deal.
The time has come to The time has come to The time has come to
Get 0% APR for 60 months on GMC EV models. Plus, current Flow Costco members receive up to $12.50 purchase allowance.
Natasha Bertrand and Deputy Nicole, and this is CNN. See something, say something. But Wendy's comments did exactly that last night. After spotting someone all alone, wearing a dark outfit, ducking down by a grassy area near her friend's home, all while talking with her sister. Rattled by what she saw, Wendy quickly flagged the sheriff nearby. Now, little did she know at the time that someone was the suspect in the Minnesota shooting that authorities have been searching for nearly 2 days. Lady Thomas joins me now, along with her friend Kevin Efforts, the owner of the property where the gun was found. Thank you both for joining us. It's really unbelievable that this hit so very close to home. I mean, Wendy, last night you stopped by Kevin's house to get a phone number for a neighbor. And on your way there, you saw the suspect lurking in the grass. Can you describe what you saw?
It wasn't on the way here. It was after I had ran and got the phone number and I was leaving. As I was exiting the driveway, he was in the grassy area. It's a high pay area. And I saw him there and I was on the phone with Dad. And I said, Dad, there's here in the grass. And I said, it looks like the clock were black.
Did you know at that point who this person may have been?
I honestly thought it was the SWAT team. Because I know they were coming out and they were checking our properties. But then the more I was talking to Dad, I said, Dad, there's only one person, there's a vehicle here. And then it dawned on me, Kevin was up in Alexandria and they would have needed his permission on the property. And that's when my adrenaline started going and I was like, this is a person, you know, they shouldn't be here, I don't know what's going on. And then he headed towards the culvert and he got down.
Did you call the police? What happened?
No, I was right next to him driving down the driveway, not right next to him, but, you know, parallel with him driving down the driveway. And at the end of the road, an officer just so happened to be coming by, so I flagged him down, and he pulled into the driveway, and I said, there is a person in the grassy area, and they just went into the culvert.
What did the officer say?
He asked as much detail as he could at a brief moment in time, and then he told me to go down to the car intersection.
Were you afraid?
I was freaked out because as I turned the corner, I saw him again squatting in that culvert. And I could definitely tell it was a person because I knew if that had been an animal, it would have been long gone. So that's when things just kind of started to piece together.
When did it dawn on you that you had just whacked down an officer who was then going to end this largest manhunt in the history of Minnesota?
It didn't dawn on me then, I'll tell you that, because I didn't think he was in the area. And I thought, wasn't an animal? Am I wasting people's time? You know, should I even, it wasn't something, did I see something? And then when I got down to that far road, there was another setup of vehicles where they inspected the cars. And they could tell right away that I was shaken up. I could barely talk. I was surprised. And trying to explain to them what happened. And I had to call Kevin because I didn't know his address. I didn't know north, south. Like I couldn't, yeah.
I mean, Kevin, you actually own the property with that eventually found. I mean, the image on the screen is actually showing people how incredibly close he was to your home. Can you just describe what that area is like, the terrain where you live, and why do you think he'd be hiding out there?
I really don't know why he's hiding out here, but he does have, in that terrain, there is a counter waterway that is getting straight covered. And then when he got into the meadow, that stuff was standing 3-4 feet tall. So he had plenty of cover to hide in. I don't know why he stood up, because if he would have stayed crouched down, then he would have never saw him. So when he stood up, then he just, stand outside, kind of a clear sight. Yeah.
Thank God Wendy was watching. Wendy Thomas, Kevin Efforts, thank you both.
Thank you.
Up next, the Minnesota community shattered. Who were they? And who was the alleged assassin go after them? One of their friends will join us. Plus, they tried from President Moore, Guy Chicago, the chief community subject. Well, Michigan Secretary of State John Bennett is standing by. Join us.
Evil Focus becomes waves at 9 on CNN.
Also, things are not educated. It's hard. Take a question.
Here in Phoenix, there's been a dead king surprise. Definitely related to non-Rosenberg. Was that his first film the FDA approved treatment of his hand? And it feels worse with esophagitis than Rosenberg. 93% of adults with Rosenberg were healed by 2 months. Of those healed, 79% stayed healed. It's going to provide heartburn for 8 days and nights. Others may have symptoms of take allergic to West serious allergic reactions, trouble, red, itching, swollen face, lips, serious side effects may include kidney, abdominal fractures, life-threatening skin reactions, B12, magnesium, pulse, and stomach wounds. Tell your doctor about your medications, and if you have diarrhea, stomach pain or fever, decreased or bloody urine, seizures, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, jitteriness, chills, numbness, and breath, plus breaks weakness, spasms of hands, feet, or voice. It makes an accident, so you ask your doctor about it.
If you're living with HIV, imagine being good to go without daily HIV pills. Good to go binge watch. Good to go out even later. With Cabenuva, there's no pausing for daily HIV pills. For adults who are undetectable, Cabenuva is the only complete, long-acting HIV treatment you can get every other month. It's 2 injections from a healthcare provider. It's used 6 times a year. Don't take Cabenuva if allergic to its ingredients or taking certain medicines that may interact. Serious side effects include allergic reactions or rash, post-injection reactions, liver problems, and depression. Areas of the tell the doctor about your medicines or supplements for medical use. For kidney problems, mental health, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. Most common side effect is injection site reaction. With Cabenuva, you're good to go without daily HIV pills. Talk to your doctor about switching.
Zepbound means change. For adults with obesity, to help lose weight and keep it off. Zepbound can help adults lose up to 48 pounds. And some lost over 58 pounds.
Zepbound works differently by activating 2 naturally occurring hormone receptors in the body.
It's changing what I think is possible when it comes to weight loss.
Take a look at 2 hours, people are simply with their regular thyroid cancer or multiple and religious illnesses too. Tell your doctor if you have lump or swelling in your neck. Stop Zepbound and call your doctor if you have severe stomach pain or a serious allergic reaction. Severe side effects may include inflamed pancreas or gallbladder problems. Tell your doctor if you experience vision changes, depression, or suicidal thoughts before scheduling procedures with anesthesia. If you're nursing, pregnant, plan to be, or taking birth with hormones, taking Zepbound with a strong ingredient or insulin may cause high blood sugar. Side effects include nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which can cause dehydration and worsen kidney problems. I'm working to help break the cycle of weight loss and fat.
Zepbound is changed. Discover the weight loss you can develop.
See your healthcare provider about Zepbound. Explore savings options today.
There's a moment when a young girl turns into a woman. It's complicated and not just pretty.
My goal was to be a good wife and mother. What more is there? I'm not sure you understand. Some people want more. I sense rebellion in our midst. Let me be my own person. This is how it starts. I'm building a future. Nothing can go wrong. Not now.
Bitch.
My goal was to be today. There's a moment when a young girl turns into a woman. It's complicated and not just pretty. My goal was to be a good wife and mother. What more is there? I'm not sure you understand. Some people want more. I sense rebellion in our midst. be my own person. This is how it starts. I'm building the future. Nothing can go wrong. Not now.
Bitch.
Must become a moment for us to come together. The attacks over the weekend are once again raising many questions about how to combat the growing threats of political violence and extremism right here in the United States. We reported the alleged gunman had a hit list with dozens of names as potential targets, including prominent Democrats and people linked to Planned Parenthood and the abortion rights movement. And tonight, we are learning that one of those targets was my next guest, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, joining me now along with Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon. Let me begin with you, Secretary Simon, because you have known Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark for years. What can you tell us about them tonight?
They were both really bright, shining lights. They were just tremendous human beings. I knew Melissa Hortman 30 years ago. We went to law school together. We came into the legislature at the same time, where I came to know her husband. Obviously, they were at my wedding. They were just such thoughtful, warm people. And, Melissa in particular, she demonstrated that you could be steely and savvy and a good negotiator and tough, and yet also warm. And she always embraced the humanity in other people, particularly and especially people on the other side of the aisle. It's why she was so popular, why she was so well-liked, why she was so effective. She's going to leave her absence will leave a giant gaping hole, and Mark's as well, not just among those who knew her, but really in all of Minnesota.
What a tragedy. I mean, Secretary Benson, we're learning tonight that your office was told that you were a target on the suspect's hit list. How are you feeling after hearing about that?
It was unnerving, especially we received this information before he had been apprehended. So it immediately went into lockdown because we didn't know at that point where he was headed next and what he would do. But grateful for the enormous outpouring of support we and others who are in Michigan also targeted on this list received from the state police. Colonel Brady called me repeatedly, consistently working to make sure I had everything I needed to feel safe. And that contact with state law enforcement was so critical for making us feel prepared, safe, and also, frankly, that we could continue along with our work. We have jobs to do, serving the people of Michigan, and these types of acts that are meant to deter us from doing our work, make us afraid to do our work, has to have the impact of redoubling our efforts to do the work we were elected to do, keeping others safe and making government work for everyone.
You're truly honorable to continue in the work that you're doing, because this is not the first time that you've even been targeted. Do you have any idea as to why these what appear to be politically motivated attacks on elected officials, why do they feel more common?
Well, certainly one of the things that's been on the rise in recent years has been a lot of divisive rhetoric, hateful rhetoric, and threats from leaders all across the country. And in moments like this, it's really important that though these acts of violence, which I believe you can draw a direct line to the hateful rhetoric, to potential and to violent acts, all the data shows that connection. Yet, though this is becoming more common, it cannot be seen as normal. We cannot allow this to be normalized. And everyone across the political spectrum needs to take this as a recognition, as the children of those we lost reminded us, to come together, condemn political violence, recommit ourselves to disagreeing without being disagreeable, and recognize that we need to lead together and solve real problems for people and move away from this heated environment with threats and hateful rhetoric and cruelty are infecting too much of our discourse.
Their children left some truly beautiful words, even amid the grief. Secretary Simon, the Department of Homeland Security's threat assessment report for this year, it warned the threat from domestic violent extremism is high. And they added, quote, lone offenders and small groups continue to pose the greatest threat of carrying out attacks with little to no warning. Do you think authorities have been taking this seriously enough?
Well, I think, yes, mostly they have. But it's tough because the people who perpetuate this kind of politically motivated violence, they're always one step ahead. They seem to be one step ahead. So hats off to law enforcement, certainly in Minnesota, for doing an outstanding, impeccable, nearly perfect job over this last 72 hours or so. But it's hard when you have people who are as sadly inventive as this alleged gunman was. But they did a great job in trying to get at it. I think, Secretary Benson is right that no matter where we are on the political spectrum, we have to call this stuff out. And then there's one other thing, too, I would suggest. I think one of the things that's going to get at this problem, it's not the one and only thing, is we have to also call out our own. I think each political group, party, culture has to police its own to some extent. It's very easy. There's very little cost to me as a Democrat calling out when maybe a Republican says something inflammatory. Very little cost. But it's a lot tougher to do when it's on your own side. And I think all sides, all parts of the political spectrum have to police their own, even if it's quiet. It doesn't have to be a social media post, doesn't have to be a press conference, nothing self-aggrandizing. But even if it's quiet and behind the scenes, one of the ways we're going to get at this problem, not the only way, but one big way, is for us to police our own, all of us, period. Doesn't matter where we are on the political spectrum.
Full stop. Secretaries, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
We have much more on the tensions in the Middle East straight ahead as President Trump gets ready to depart the G7 summit to head back to Washington, D.C.
How do you sleep at night? On a mattress from Mattress Firm. So I sleep.
At Mattress Firm's July 4th sale, get a queen mattress and adjustable base for just $499.99. Get matched at Mattress Firm, sleep at night. Asthma. Does it have you missing out on what you love, with who you love? Get back to better breathing with Fasenra, an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma taken once every 8 weeks. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems. Serious allergic reactions may occur. Get help for swelling of your face, mouth, tongue, or trouble breathing. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens or you have a parasitic infection. Headache and sore throat may occur. Ask your doctor if Fasenra is right for you.
We've always been competitive. Yeah, one of us always had to be first. First! Hold on, guys. First. Today, we're first together. Love you, Mom and Dad. Thank you so much for making it possible. Now you can finally put yourselves first.
Vanguard, 50 years of helping you invest for all of life's versions.
So, what do you think about the Jeep Wrangler?
Very spacious, lots of open air.
What are you going to use it for?
Thwarting international terrorism, saving the world, that kind of stuff.
Sorry, we just saw Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and we are very excited.
Let's try.
No mission is impossible with a Jeep Wrangler.
Purchase and get an average of $8,200 below MSRP on 2025 Jeep Gladiator, Rubicon, and Mojave models. Hurry, this offer will self-destruct June 30th.
Oh, for the love.
Hi, TV, can you lower my monthly bill?
Yeah, I can raise it.
You can lock it.
You'll see.
Save up to $30 a month and get 3 months free.
Can a personal loan unlock your ambitions? Oh, yeah. Borrow up to $100,000 to consolidate that debt and save money for your next goal. Take a swing at your kitchen rental. Mean that literally. Or design your actual dream wedding. Consolidate that debt and fund all your ambitions with a SoFi personal loan. Go to SoFi.com to view your rate. SoFi. Get your money right. Aiden called. He did. We have contracts. Oh, I faked it. I faked real fast. Welcome to my version of happily ever after.
We're challenging the standard of what comes standard. The next generation GMC Terrain Elevation. When we choose to challenge, we challenge completely. Get this low mileage lease on this 2025 Terrain Elevation for around $299 per month. See your local GMC dealer.
3 ice cold Jägermeister shots, please. Those look warm.
Serve it cold or don't serve it at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold.
The next legendary big league is here. Plates Unlimited Softball League. The best players on the game's biggest stage. This is legendary. AUSL on the networks of ESPN.
Millionaire Boys Club. Premieres Sunday, July 13th on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by Gilt. Visit Gilt.com today for up to 70% off designer brands.
Gilt has the designers that get your heart racing. At insider prices, new every day. Hurry, they'll be gone in a flash. Designer sales at up to 70% off. Shop Gilt.com today.
Much more in the Middle East and what's going on there ahead. But first, a quick update of the Sean Diddy Combs trial that we've been watching here since day one on Laura Coates Live. It was another dramatic day with some significant developments. Juror number 6 was thrown out of the trial. The judge removed him for not being truthful about his living situation. The juror also saw, and jury saw for the first time, videos of the so-called freak-offs, about 2 minutes worth. One juror winced, another put her hand over her eyes. And we learned that the prosecution could rest as early as Wednesday. Now, Diddy's team is not happy about that juror getting removed. He's a 41-year-old black man who lived in the Bronx. He's now being replaced with a 57-year-old white man. In a filing, the defense tried to argue against his removal, saying the juror was one of only 2 black men on the jury, and the one most similar in background to Diddy. Quote, removing this particular juror will deprive Mr. Combs of that important perspective. Simply say that there are other black jurors or other males on the jury. The judge
Really?
and the juror was dismissed. Testimony continues tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. John Voss picks up CNN's breaking news coverage of the tensions in the Middle East right now.
Hello, and did not work either. Joining the conflict. A few hours ago, the Israeli military warned of a new Iranian missile attack and ordered civilians to head to bomb shelters and safe rooms. Sirens have been heard across the country. In Iran, state media reports air defenses have been activated over the capital Tehran, and a number of explosions have been heard in the capital. Meantime, the US president is cutting short his visit to Canada for a meeting of the G7, in his words, for obvious reasons. A short time ago, boarding Marine One for that trip back to Washington, telling his national security staff to convene in the White House situation. Earlier, Donald Trump posted, Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame. What a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. The Israeli Prime Minister says the strikes have set back Iran's nuclear program, quote, a very, very long time, but made clear additional targets remain. During an interview with ABC News, Benjamin Netanyahu refused to rule out assassinating Iran's supreme leader.
So are you going to target the supreme leader?
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details, but we've targeted their top nuclear scientists. It's basically Hitler's nuclear team.
But U.S. officials tell us that the president flatly rejected a plan, an opportunity that the Israelis had to take out the supreme leader. Do you understand his concern? My understanding is his concern was that this would escalate the conflict beyond where it is already.
And it's not going to escalate the conflict, it's going to end the conflict.
And just moments ago, the US president boarded Marine One to leave Alberta, Canada, and that G7 meeting. CNN's Kristen Holmes says more now on Donald Trump's very short trip for the G7.
President Donald Trump leaving the G7 early. He was supposed to spend Tuesday with several meetings as well as holding a press conference, but Monday, the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, posted that after the day that Donald Trump had had a series of good engagements, that he needed to get back given what was going on in the Middle East. Now, I talked to a number of White House officials who said throughout the day, Donald Trump kept asking to be briefed on what exactly was happening in the Middle East, where things stood between Iran and Israel. And it became clear as things began escalating in the Middle East that it would be better for him, at least they believe so, to be in Washington with all of his officials nearby. They're likely going to convene in the Situation Room. I do want to admit one thing that I was told by a White House official is that the posture has not changed. We've seen a lot of speculation swirling about why he left early. This is a change in posture from the United States. We are told pretty definitively that at this time, of course, anything can change, at this time, the U.S. is still maintaining a defensive posture, meaning they are helping Israel with deflecting, interfering with those missiles. They have used the argument that there are U.S. military assets in Israel they need to protect. There are U.S. citizens in Israel they need to protect. But they are not at this point going on the offensive. Now, part of that reasoning, they are told us that Donald Trump is still really hoping to get Iran to the table in terms of a nuclear deal. They are hoping to have their top intermediaries meet, their top officials meet, to try and work something through. And throughout the last several days, Donald Trump has been urging these officials, these U.S. officials, to maintain contact with their Iranian counterparts, but if not them, with the intermediaries around the globe to try and ensure that this still happens, that Iran comes to the table. We've obviously seen him calling for that publicly as well. So unclear what the next steps are going to be, but right now what we do know is that Donald Trump is not staying the full time at the G7. We had a set of meetings on Monday and then is heading back to Washington. Kristen Holmes, CNN.
CNN military analyst and retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Layton joins us now from Washington. Colonel, it's always good to see you.
Good to see you too, John.
So the IAEA says that the centrifuges that Iran's advanced uranium enrichment plant will likely have been severely damaged, but not destroyed. If not destroyed, rather. This is the result of power cuts. At this point, though, how much damage has been confirmed by Israel to Iran's nuclear program?
Yes, this is a good question because even reports from the Israelis are completely accurate when it comes to the amount of destruction. But we believe that somewhere around a third or so of the centrifuges in the plants have in fact been damaged or rendered inoperable. So if that it turns out to be true, then that's a pretty considerable impact on the nuclear program, the enrichment program at Natanz.
Can they complete the job of setting back Iran when it comes to the nuclear program without bunkerbusters from the United States?
No. The short answer is no, John, and the reason for that is that a large portion of the activity in terms of enrichment of uranium is actually occurring at a place called Fordo. And Fordo is located in basically beneath a mountain that is deeply buried area, somewhere around 80 meters or so underground. And if that is the case, that they are seeking, the Israelis are seeking to actually destroy or render inoperable the Iranian nuclear program, then they will have to destroy the facilities at Fordo along with several other facilities around Iran.
So if they don't take out Fordo, does that mean that this entire exercise has not obviously reached its objectives? I wouldn't say it's been for nothing, but certainly hasn't been as advertised.
That would be correct, yes. If for example, so they stopped military operations at this particular point in time, that would mean that the objective of destroying the Iranian nuclear program was not met. And that would indicate they'd have to do it all over again at some point, perhaps not too distant future.
So apart from Fordo and the other nuclear sites, what other objectives remain right now for Israel?
So the main thing that the Israelis are doing besides the nuclear program is they're actually going after the senior leadership. So what they've done is they've in essence decimated the ranks of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the Iranian military, as well as the intelligence services and the nuclear program. So from a leadership perspective, they've gone through the ranks of the leadership, somewhat similar to what they did with Hezbollah and with Hamas. They are doing that to the Iranians as well. So that's one thing. The other thing that they're doing is they're systematically destroying Iran's ability to conduct air defense operations. And that means that, in essence, the Israelis have achieved air supremacy, at least over western and central Iran, and perhaps extending to a larger portion of the country at either now from this point forward or at some point in the future. So those are the things that they're doing right now, and that basically seems to be what the Israelis are going after. They could also go after economic targets, but that seems to be lower on the priority list at this time.
The big question for Iran right now seems to be, but how much longer can it sustain its current rate of missiles being fired at Israel, its burn rate? How much longer can they keep going at this pace?
So Iran had somewhere around 3,000 missiles before this conflict started in this way. So at the moment they are looking at they may have expended as many as 1/3 to even potentially 1/2 of the missiles that they can use against Israel. That doesn't mean all 3,000 or 1,500 or so of those missiles were fired at Israel, but what it does mean is that they are basically going through these missiles at a fairly high rate. They do have some production capabilities. The Israelis are targeting those production capabilities as well, and that means that Iran probably will run out of their capacity to do this kind of thing perhaps within a month or a month and a half or so, unless they find ways to replenish their current supply, that is, ways that are more extensive than what they're currently using.
We said raises the questions, what are the non-military options, if you like, for retaliation by Tehran? Could that possibly be something like closing the Strait of Hormuz, which is this critical choke point for global energy?
Yeah, that would be one thing. They could potentially do that. And that would actually be somewhat of a military option because they would have to use naval assets, perhaps an asymmetric or special operations variety. They could do that. They could also use cyber. They have a very significant cyber capability, and that cyber capability has been used to great effect against countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel. And it's also been used to some effect against the United States. Basically what they would do is they would target the critical infrastructure of countries like Israel, and that could have a significant impact on what happens next.
Cedric Layton, Colonel, thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate you staying up. Thank you, sir.
You bet, John. Anytime.
Well, on Monday, Iran warned Israel to evacuate the headquarters of 2 Israeli television channels after an explosion at an Iranian TV station. One employee was reportedly killed while outside footage showed flames and smoke shooting from the building. Meantime, a senior Iranian official tells CNN that civilians are a red line. If they're targeted, Iran's armed forces will take decisive action. More now, CNN's Fred Pike.
Iranian fire trucks racing to the scene of yet another strike in central Tehran. CNN exclusively obtained this video, authorities say shows the aftermath of a hit on a residential building leading to a partial collapse. People on the ground trying to evacuate the area. As Israel continues its aerial blitz, hitting military targets but also infrastructure, in Tehran, many shops remain closed, the streets nearly empty. They're truly afraid. When they hear the sound of bombings, they get scared, the shopkeeper says. Just now, we had a customer who was really frightened. She cried and quickly left the store in a hurry. But Iran says after initial setbacks with many top generals killed, the Revolutionary Guard has now regrouped. The assassinated IRGC commander Hossein Salami replaced by Mohammad Pakpour, a veteran of the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. Iran now launching waves of missile strikes against Israel. A senior Iranian official telling CNN that Iran will make Israel pay if it hits Iranian civilians. And a military spokesman even giving evacuation orders to Israelis. We currently possess a complete database of all your sensitive and critical locations and vital points, he says. Therefore, we emphasize, do not allow the criminal regime to use you as human shields. while President Trump says despite the aerial bombardments, he still wants a nuke deal with Iran, Tehran pouring cold water on that idea, at least for now. We cannot imagine that such an action by the Zionist regime could have taken place without coordination, cooperation, and support from the United States, he says. This has, in effect, stripped the diplomatic process and negotiations of their meaning and substance. And so many Tehran residents are bracing for more strikes on the capital, as Iran says it will continue to hit back. Like in CNN, Berlin.
Watching CNN, we'll take a short break. There's a lot more to come on this escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. After the break, a closer look at the damage left behind by strikes on Tel Aviv.
Lunch is on me today. Awesome. Why? I have some extra cash right now. I started using Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. Wait, are you saying you get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app? Yes, I get real cash back every time I get gas. Does that actually add up to anything? I'll make around $200 to $300. Wow, that's serious extra cash. Right? You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? It's like free money. I'm downloading the free Upside app now. Use this promo code and get an extra 25 cents a gallon cash bonus on your first tank. Thanks.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just for buying the gas you're already buying. Download the free Upside app now. Earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code REPAIR25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank.
Did you download the Upside app yet?
Yes, of course. I'm not passing up free money. I'm earning real cash back now every time I get gas.
Just download the free Upside app and use promo code REPAIR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. If you drive, you need Upside. Earn cash back on every gallon of gas you buy. Plus, you can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. So whether you're driving around town a couple times a week or driving hundreds of miles every day, Upside is for you. Don't wait. Some Upside users are making as much as $200 to $300. Download the free Upside app and use promo code REPAIR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code REPAIR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault and you don't have an attorney, don't go alone. Watching professionals standing by to let you know what your case is potentially worth. I have no idea spokesman Rob Wolf. So this told you was a problem. You should be calling in right now.
Well, Paul, it's just like you said. Anyone who's been injured in an accident, it was not your fault, you did not have an attorney, give us a call right now. We have legal professionals standing by ready to answer all of your questions and let you know what your case is potentially worth.
So what kind of calls are coming in so far?
Well, we've seen calls from all types of accidents today. There's this great group of people behind us. They're here to answer your questions and help you today. So I want to remind all of viewers at home, you've been injured in an accident, it was not your fault. Or if you received a low insurance coverage, give us a call right now and we'll let you know if your case is really worth.
Thanks so much, Rob. So take action. Call now and find out what your case is really worth.
Just a bunch of
Ritz chocolate cake. You're gonna get sick. You need pumpkin. Pumpkin, it's not food, it's pet insurance. So when you get hurt or sick and you need expensive medicine or surgery, insurance from Pumpkin can help. Go to pumpkin.care.
View the box of videotapes, film reels, and photos that are degrading. Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit LegacyBox.com.
The picnic, you know, the hike in the woods, all the selfies, and and the time we rollerbladed and we watched the sunset and we stayed up all night talking and sharing our innermost fears and then
Precise designs, subtle curves,
that wasn't you?
curated upgrades,
Even the skinny dipping and the
design for thoughtful living. Puma.
There are amazing
You're
things
saying,
that are happening all over the world. Things that
the
can
drugs.
make our lives
Oh man,
better
the
and
drugs.
still
I am a
happiness.
heavily
Try and
medicated
find the
man.
secrets to a
I'm not
longer and
well
happier and
at all.
healthier life. And then we bring
A
those
little
secrets
embarrassed.
to you as the
Okay,
Jason
the
Light
money.
Revolution
Here
podcasts.
and
Julia Vargas Jones
here
in Los Angeles, and this is CNN.
here and
Senior Iranian official has warned Israel that targeting civilians is a red line, telling CNN if that line is crossed, it will bring a very decisive response. Despite the IDF issuing warnings Monday for Iranians to evacuate specific areas ahead of airstrikes, a number of civilians were killed. CNN's Peyton Walsh has our report.
Mid-broadcast, the conflict came to the studio. Israel said without evidence the state broadcaster building was being used by Iran's armed forces. A shockwave of a different kind, too, fueling panic in Tehran. The blast in District
It's hot.
an area the IDF told Iranians on social media to flee hours earlier. And these blasts hitting the hills to the capital's west, showing the firepower now in use. Israel says it controls the skies over Tehran. And this is what that feels like. Screams on ordinary streets. Sunday night, many fled the capital. The roads out, apparently hit on Monday too. Nothing like this in recent memory. In the western city of Kermanshah, state media posted images of the intensive care unit of a hospital damaged. The IDF told CNN they were, quote, not aware of any attack that happened on a hospital in Iran, end quote, and it's unclear if anyone was hurt. Over 200 dead, though 90% civilians since Friday, Iran's health ministry said. But each number its own story, many from the youth that the West sees as the hope for Iran's post-Ayatollah future. This is Tara Hajmiri, dancing at the dentist, killed alongside her family, said state media. Also, Nilufar Galevand, big in gyms and social media, aged 31, killed alongside her parents. And Pania Abbasi, a poet, aged 23, killed with her parents and brother. Her poem, The Extinguished Star, reads, "You and I will come to an end, somewhere. The most beautiful poem in the world falls quiet." Nick Peyton Walsh, CNN, London.
Dennington On is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations and former Israeli Deputy Defense Minister. He is with us this hour from New York. Mr. Ambassador, again, welcome back. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, John.
So can you say how much longer this military operation will continue? And is there any word if the United States will supply the bunker busters, which will be needed if Iran's nuclear program is to be dealt a decisive blow as opposed to just merely a setback?
Well, first, we have goals for this operation, and the goals are to make sure that Iran cannot pose a threat to Israel and to the entire world, mainly with the nuclear missiles and the ballistic missiles. You know, we speak a lot about the nuclear capabilities, but you have to bear in mind that they are in the process of developing thousands of ballistic missiles, and when we saw they are capable of doing those ballistic missiles. So now we are in the process. You know, we push them back. We were very successful. You know, in the last few days, we achieved a lot. And the fact that today we can maneuver and fly over Iran and continue with targeting those military sites, it's very impressive. Regarding the U.S., you know, I will not speak for the U.S. The decision of the U.S. to decide if and when to get involved. But I want to remind you, John, that, you know, the chance in Tehran used to be death to Israel and to America. They tried to assassinate Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump. And many American soldiers died because of the Iranian proxies. So that's for the U.S. to decide. But we are committed and determined, despite the heavy price we are paying, to continue with the operation.
What's your reaction to this reporting from Axios that the White House is in talks with Iran for a possible meeting this week between the United States and Iran to resume talks on a nuclear deal as well as a possible ceasefire?
Well, there have been so many reports all day long, so we cannot comment on everyone. You know, we know what we are doing. We feel secure with our policy. And I can tell you that at the UN, I was surprised to see how many countries actually understand Israel. stand with us. Some of them do it quietly, but people are impressed what they achieved because for years. People spoke about Taiwan. They had negotiations with Taiwan. They had talks with Taiwan. How many events, deliberation regarding the ambition of Iran, and nobody did much. And now we are doing the work for the entire world.
It's just on this possible negotiation between the United States and Iran. The U.S. president believes a deal is possible here, even at this late hour. If there is a deal, what has to be in that deal for Israel to sign on?
Well, first you have to understand that the Iranians are master of deception. The line for so many years, for so many people, so one should be careful about dealing with them. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the results of any agreement. Whether we give them a place to maneuver, to play the games like they used to do, and then continue quietly with their ambitions to develop a nuclear bomb, or they actually come and say, okay, we understand it's not happening, and they change their behavior. I'm skeptical about it, but at the end of the day, you have to look at their actions, not their words.
Well, does the Iranian Supreme Leader have the U.S. president to thank for being alive right now, and will that continue for much longer?
Well, I will not go into details, but we proved that we have very good intelligence. The first day we struck Iran, we got many of the leadership, we targeted the military, the IRGC ones, and also we have freedom to maneuver over the skies of Tehran. So we have the abilities, we have the means. It will be our decision what to do with that.
Will Israel be responsible for the consequences if there is regime change in Iran? Because the Middle East has plenty of examples when regime change has gone very badly because of the law of unintended consequences. Iraq with Saddam Hussein, Libya with Colonel Gaddafi.
That would be for the Iranian people to decide. Today I spoke in the General Assembly and I addressed the Iranian people, and actually I did it in Farsi. And I told them, we love you, we respect you, we have nothing against you. We know that you are the victims from this regime that oppresses you. And I pray for the day, like we had 46 years ago, we had great relationship between Israel and the people of Iran, and I hope that soon it will be the same. But it's up to them to decide what they are doing and who will lead them.
Right now, the White House seems to be maintaining this defensive position, not saying we're join into this conflict in support of Israel. Can you finish the job completely and totally without direct assistance from the United States?
Well, John, Israel is a very small country. We have limited resources.
What is going on?
Franchise, we have technology, and we were able to surprise our enemies for many years. You see what we did in Lebanon with Hezbollah and with Iran in the last few days, but we cannot compare, the capabilities of Israel to the U.S.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. It's very much appreciated, sir. Take care.
Thank you very much, John.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, a closer look at the damage left behind by strikes in Tel Aviv. The military said Iran wants a new wave of attacks. Also, Minnesota lawmaker shooting faces federal and state murder charges. Those stories, a whole lot more after a very short break.
Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
So good to see you.
That's why it's hot in here. No wonder it's fucking hot. The fan is off. I know I'm not crazy, bitch. Jesus. Lord.
We're just happy to have you back there. Don't go think about debts or anything like that. We'll find a way to pay.
Now see.
Oh, God.
$50,000 for my funeral and other family expenses.
Well, hold on. Eligible for $50,000 and you just got out of the hospital? Then you have to take a medical exam or something?
No. There was no medical exam. And I was able to get coverage right over the phone. Plus, my rates can never be increased. My benefits can never be decreased. And my coverage can never be canceled.
Dad, I'm glad you made that call. Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-499-3630 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and
other final expenses starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-299-3630 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-299-3630. That's 800-299-3630. 800-299-3630.
If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault and you don't have an attorney, don't go it alone. We have legal professionals standing by to let you know what your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Paula Haddock here with spokesman Rob Wolf. So, Rob, please tell the viewers at home who should be calling in right now.
Well, Paul, it's just like you said. Anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault, you do not have an attorney, give us a call right now. We have legal professionals standing by ready to answer all of your questions and let you know what your case is potentially worth.
So what kind of calls are coming in so far?
Well, Paul, we're seeing calls from all types of accidents today. Look at this great group of people behind us. Look, we're here to answer your questions and help you today. So I want to remind all the viewers at home, if you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, or if you've received a low offer from the insurance company, give us a call right now, and we'll let you know what your case is really worth.
Thanks so much, Rob. So take action. Call now and find out what your case is really worth.
The 5 Things Podcast from CNN. Get today's top 5 stories, all in one podcast. The 5 things you need to hear in under 5 minutes. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
What causes apparent desert-Williams disease is somebody I can talk to about.
I got somebody for that. I got somebody for that. I got somebody for that. I got somebody for Peyronie's disease.
There's hope for the estimated 1 in 10 men who may have Peyronie's disease, or PD. A urology specialist who treats PD can help you create a plan, including non-surgical options. Find somebody today at GoGetSomebody.com.
The Chewy pharmacy order is on the way for Homer, the homebody who prefers the great indoors. But nature does call, and outside is outside. So Mom uses Chewy to get his flea and tick meds at a great price, delivered right to their door or right to the couch. For quality meds at great prices, for life with pets, there's
I just noticed he had those.
I'm Nick Walt in Los Angeles, and this is CNN.
Like, why is it so hot?
Welcome back, everyone. I'm John Horse. Let's take a look at today's top stories. US President Donald Trump has left the G7 summit in Canada a day early to monitor the Iran-Israel crisis. He ordered his national security team to convene in the White House Situation Room and is working on a meeting with Iranian officials to try and resolve this conflict with Israel through diplomacy. President Trump also sent an ominous message to the people of Tehran, warning them to immediately evacuate. Israel and Iran have been launching deadly attacks against each other for 5 days, with back-and-forth missile strikes, with no signs of letting up. And Iran demanding immediate action from the United Nations in response to Israel's attacks. Iran's UN envoy accuses Israel of violating international law with its, quote, deliberate attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities in recent days. It says strikes are, quote, a serious and growing threat to international peace and security and require immediate action. Well, sirens rang out across central Israel overnight after Iran launched a new wave of missiles, but so far no reports of any impact or casualties. An earlier wave of missile attacks on Monday, though, was a different story, with direct strikes on parts of Tel Aviv. CNN's Jeremy Diamond has details.
This is what surviving an Iranian ballistic missile attack looks like. Amid wrecked cars and scattered debris, this central Tel Aviv neighborhood engulfed in flames as rescuers arrive on the scene. For the third night in a row, Iranian ballistic missiles struck the Tel Aviv area. We arrived minutes later, as people emerged, shaken but alive, from their bomb shelters. This man arrived distraught to inspect the damage to his shop. We came here and everything was destroyed, he tells me. After an hour-long wait, a boyfriend's anxious wait turns into a loving embrace.
Yeah, you can feel it. It goes through you.
Even inside their shelters, people here felt the power of the blast.
Like smoke. Like a really strong. I had to cover my nose with a t-shirt.
They were overwhelmed by the smoke-filled air as they emerged. The shockwave broke windows and damaged homes blocks away from the impact. But at the epicenter, where rescue crews continue to pour in and out of the scene, it is another level of destruction altogether. This is the devastation caused by an Iranian ballistic missile that struck this Tel Aviv neighborhood. You can see all around me what that looks like. These buildings that have been torn to shreds, vehicles wrecked from the missile. At least 5 Iranian missiles penetrated Israeli air defenses, according to Israeli rescue services, killing 10 people on Sunday night. In Iran, a widening Israeli bombardment campaign driving electricity in the capital city as jets strike not only military and nuclear facilities, but also economic targets in residential neighborhoods. More than 200 people have been killed in the Israeli strikes, according to the Iranian Health Ministry, which says a majority of the victims are civilians. I'm scared, says this woman whose home was damaged in a strike. My heart is pounding. I felt like my heart stopped.
Mr. Kress said you might be able to help me
Iranian
out with
state
something.
TV became
Well,
the
not me,
latest
so
target
that's clear. It's
Monday.
not me you're going to be
As an
helping.
airstrike hit the
And I want to
station during a
understood that I
live
am not
broadcast.
involved.
Smoke filling the studio.
Bystander doing a
Latest
favor.
sign this
And
conflict
this is not an offer of
showing no
employment so
sign
much
of
as an
de-escalating.
opportunity. And, well, anyway, that's just getting a bit technical, but the point is, sometimes our fair and legal justice system makes mistakes. And this is one such time. Here he is, Professor Maxim Rashkovsky. You know the professor? Used to be head of research for the Army. 3 doctorates, overconfident polymath, vain sociopath, tedious egomaniac, control freak, geneticist, weapons development, engineer, car nut, but definitely not a people person.
International Committee of Red Cross says access to basic
Espionage
goods
along with
is
everything else?
increasingly difficult because of Israeli restrictions on what can and cannot.
Lucky you. Exceedingly vain and self-absorbed man, brilliant at everything he does, yada yada yada, makes you want to puke. Goddamn traitor. I mean, he's a rat, but he pays. Incarcerated for a crime he did commit, but, well, let's just say money talks, and he's going to walk. So, we got a few things to get ready, all pretty straightforward. Do them one at a time, but any way you like. Standard op for a gov-fac breakup, you know what I mean. Rad. All right, first thing's a plane, then we got a bus, then, well, 2 things. We got the inmate transfer schedule and Rashkovsky's car. More on that later. Let me show you. We need a plane to get the professor out of the country. It's currently being used to traffic drugs by transnational street gang, the Vagos. Bus. A standard Bolingbrook transport vehicle. The least traffic is on the route from Lido Bay. All right, that's where you're going to be able to get a hold of one. Transit schedule at the LSPD's Mission Row station. Go in unarmed, play it cool. You might not have a problem. That's a 2-person job, max. The other 2-handers are Guy's prize Casco. We believe it's about to be shipped to Korea by a luxury car theft ring. Okay. Mr. Kress said you guys are at least semi-competent, so, well, Professor Rashkovsky pays well.
While they were gathering there, before or during or after they collected some of the very, very small amount of aid.
Mossad, you're accusing Israel of directly killing people. Obviously, they deny that. They would deny that. Why do you say that? I mean, deliberately.
It's not like me who was deliberately. Okay, so it's not me who was accusing Israel. It is the people who are there. People are there. There is only Israeli soldiers in the area where the food sites are. So it's not me who was accusing. And Israel before denied the killing of 15 medics in Rafah. And I'm sure they denied that. And then when there was a video, they came up with a different narrative. And then, of course, there was no consequences for these actions. So Israel is accused of doing every killing in Gaza. This is what I know as a Palestinian who is living under occupation, because Israel, as you know, controls the sea, controls the air, and controls the land. So every Palestinian who is killed in Gaza, they are killed by Israel, unless there is any proof that proves that they were killed by someone else.
The suspect in the Minnesota lawmaker shootings, Vance Belter, has appeared in court, accused of killing state representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, and wounding state senator John Hoffman and his wife. And police say he had many other targets in mind. CNN's Danny Freeman has more now, reporting in from Minneapolis.
Terrifying new information about the brutal killings of a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband and the attempted killings of another lawmaker and his wife.
It is no exaggeration to say that his crimes are the stuff of nightmares.
The Department of Justice is saying the morning 57-year-old Vance Belter allegedly murdered State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, and allegedly tried to kill State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. He also visited 2 other state lawmakers' homes with intent to kill them.
He researched his victims and their families. He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes.
Belter first went to State Senator Hoffman's home in a black SUV with a fake license plate that read police, court documents said. He disguised himself as a police officer wearing a silicone mask, seen here captured on a doorbell camera.
Belter knocked on Senator Hoffman's front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police, open the door." When Belter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop. You're not a police officer."
Authorities say the suspect then went to another lawmaker's home and rang the doorbell, but that lawmaker was on vacation. Belter then continued to a third lawmaker's home, but appeared to hesitate as police were already checking on local leaders by then. Finally, at State Representative Hortman's home, authorities say police found Belter, gunfire erupted, and Belter had to abandon his car and an arsenal of weapons.
Had they not foiled the plan, essentially took his vehicle away from him, which involved all his maps, all his names, all his weaponry, I would be very scared what it would look like over the next few hours had we not done that.
Minnesota law enforcement officers then began what they call the largest manhunt in state history, which led them to rural Sibley County, roughly 50 miles from the crime scenes. New federal court documents state while he was on the run, Belter texted his family. "Dad went to war last night. I don't want to say more because I don't want to implicate anybody." But with the help of a residence trail camera, drones, and infrared technology, Belter was taken into custody without incident. Can you speak to why investigators believe he carried out this attack and for how long he may have been planning these attacks?
Well, it's pretty clear from the evidence that he's been planning these attacks for quite some time. There's voluminous writings, as you've seen in the reporting, that were found both in his car and his house about his planning, lists of names and individuals. Obviously, his primary motive was to go out and murder people. They were all elected officials. They were all Democrats.
Now, we actually got a statement from State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette on Monday. I'll read it in part. It says, "John and I are both incredibly lucky to be alive. There's never a place for senseless political violence and loss of life. We are devastated by the loss of Melissa and Mark Hortman, and our hearts go out to all those who knew and loved them both. We're always at our best when we unite together." Note of hope there amidst tragedy. Meanwhile, Belter's next federal court appearance to face those murder charges is scheduled for the end of next week. Danny Freeman, CNN, Minneapolis.
The nightly curfew for downtown Los Angeles will now be in effect 2 hours later, starting 10 p.m. until 6 in the morning. Mayor Karen Bass ordered the curfew a week ago after days of protests over federal immigration raids. The mayor now says law enforcement can assure public safety and added the Federalized National Guard and U.S. Marines are no longer needed and should stand down. We'll continue our breaking news coverage of the Israel-Iran conflict after a very short break. We'll also take a look at global oil prices and how they are reacting to the escalating tensions in the Middle East. Back in
Noom has GLP-1 meds now?
Yes, Noom combines medication with healthy habits so you can lose the weight and keep it off.
Yeah, GLP-1s starting at $149.
That's Noom Smart. Noom, the smart way to lose weight.
Lunch is on me today.
Awesome. Why?
I have some extra cash right now. I started using Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, are you saying you get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300. Wow, that's serious extra cash. Right? You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? It's like free money. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
It's not bad.
Use this promo code and get an extra
I
25
can
cents a gallon
stick
gas
around.
bonus on your first tank. Thanks.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just for buying the gas you're already buying. Download the free Upside app now. Earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code REPAIR25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank.
Did you download the Upside app yet?
Yes, of course. I'm not passing up free money. I'm earning real cash back now every time I get gas.
Just download the free Upside app and use promo code REPAIR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. If you drive, you need Upside. Earn cash back on every gallon of gas you buy. Plus, you can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. So whether you're driving around town a couple times a week or driving hundreds of miles every day, Upside is for you. Don't wait. Some Upside users are making as much as $200 to $300. Download the free Upside app and use promo code REPAIR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code REPAIR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault and you don't have an attorney, don't go it alone. We have legal professionals standing by to let you know what your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Paula Haddock here with spokesman Rob Wolf. So, Rob, please tell the viewers at home who should be calling in right now.
Well, Paul, it's just like you said. Anyone who's been injured in an accident, it was not your fault. You do not have an attorney. Give us a call right now. You have legal professionals standing by ready to answer all of your questions and let you know what your case is potentially worth.
So what kind of calls are coming in so far?
Well, we're receiving calls from all types of accidents. Look at this. The people behind us, look, they're here to answer your questions and help you today. So I want to remind all of you who've been injured in an accident, it was not your fault, or you've received a low offer from the insurance company. Give us a call right now, and we'll let you know what your case is really worth.
Thanks so much, Rob. So take action. Call now and find out what your case is really worth.
What are you in for?
I ate a toy. Turns out what goes in doesn't always come out.
Why wait for more surprises? Get 90% cash back on eligible vet bills for accident and illnesses with a Pumpkin pet insurance plan. Visit pumpkin.care.
VCRs are extinct, film reels are fading, and old photos are fragile. Old formats won't last, but Legacy Box saves them. Professionally digitized, easy to stream, and ready to share. Join the millions of families who have trusted Legacy Box today.
Thank you, Ron. Be ready with this stuff from now on, okay? Or there won't be much use for you. You'll have to go down the well like what's his name, and you'll ruin the water supply for everyone.
Precise designs, subtle curves, curated upgrades, elevated design for thoughtful living. Thuma.
My show brings you the latest news and top news makers. Do you feel the Trump administration understand what's at stake? I'll be honest, we have to work on it. Today on CNN.
I'm Max Foster in London, and this is CNN.
An Iranian missile strike has killed 3 Israeli oil company employees in the coastal city of Haifa. The company, the Bazan Group, says Monday's attack did significant damage to the power plant at the refinery. Israel Energy Minister expressed his condolences.
What?
Almost at the sawmill. We need 2 of you on the hill, covering with long-range weapons, and 2 of you going in on the ground. Be careful. You don't want to blow up the grass or that pickup drove her once.
victims and says the government is working to keep the energy sector functioning despite the ongoing attacks from Iran. The conflict at least is raising serious concerns about energy costs and the impact on the world economy. Let's take a look at the oil prices right now. Here are the numbers. Crude oil there up by just up 1%. Brent crude also up by about the same amount as well. CNN's Felicity Peters with more now on what's ahead, cost of oil and potential effect on consumers.
Anytime there's a geopolitical conflict, especially in the Middle East, we look to oil prices and then to gas prices to see what the domestic impact may be. Now, after spiking by 7% last week and crossing $70 a barrel, Brent crude, the global benchmark for oil, and U.S. oil fell by about 2% on Monday. Oil prices inform gas prices for consumers, and if things between Iran and Israel continue to escalate, some economists suggest prices could surge to $100 a barrel for oil. And then we're talking about inflation. But right now, gas prices are sitting relatively low at $3.11 a gallon. And that's compared to about $3.12 a month ago and $3.60 a year ago. So coming down substantially in the last year. But according to GasBuddy, prices are expected to rise nationally about 10 to 20 cents in the coming days following this spike in oil prices. Now, the reason that we're watching this so closely is because Iran is part of OPEC, the largest oil-producing countries in the world. And the most critical choke point of all oil flow on the planet happens in the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran is a bordering country. About 21 million barrels flow through that strait every single day. Now, there are fears that Iran could decide to block the flow of oil, which would have serious implications for the price of oil and thus gas prices. And oil supply shocks often lead to recessions. But there has been some signal or signs that Iran is trying to cool down the war instead of escalating, and that, along with oil prices cooling off, had investors on Wall Street doing an about-face, with the Dow closing up more than 300 points compared to Friday, where the Dow dropped 760 points. Back to you.
Well, before U.S. President Donald Trump announced his early departure from the G7 summit in Canada, the main focus was to try and convince him to walk back his aggressive trade war. Trump did sign a trade deal with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Monday. However, the UK still faces a minimum 10% tariff on most exports to the US. Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney also agreed to pursue economic and security negotiations in the next 30 days. But the US President says he is still partial to tariffs.
I think we have different concepts. I have a different concept. Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. Simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to see what we're going to come out with something.
Mr. President. Amid ongoing trade tensions with the United States, China's factories are slowing down. The industrial output grew 5.8% last month, down from 6.1% in April. Outbound shipments to the US are also falling. CNN's Chrissy Rousseau reports now from the port of Hong Kong.
The race is on to try to meet looming deadlines on tariffs. As the trade truce holds, a shipping rush is underway to get the goods out of China, and the clock is ticking. We're on board a vessel owned by Japan's Ocean Network Express, part of the massive operation to move goods out of China into the U.S., a task made tougher by the constant whiplash on policy changes. The current 90-day pause on higher tariffs from China expires on August 12th, after which they can go back up to 145%.
The tendencies for unpredictability and chaos are actually at an all-time high.
At the front line of this chaos, all right, let's get to the top. We get a closer look at what's on board. There we go, we made it. Now behind these metal doors is what global trade is all about, the goods. And on this ship, what they have on board includes clothing, furniture, medical equipment, and car parts parts, all mostly made in China, that will be sold over in the United States. This ship is loading up here in Hong Kong before making stops in China and South Korea, then heading through the Panama Canal and on to Houston, Texas.
We made a great deal with China. We're very happy with it.
The U.S. and China are hammering out details on a deal, but the shipping industry is not taking any chances, with Trump previously shrugging off the potential impact of tariffs on U.S. consumers.
Maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30. So maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more.
Is he right?
Probably, yes. There's probably not going to be 30 choices on the shelves.
Wow.
And those choices that are on the shelf would cost more. So it comes down to priorities.
The toy industry is being hit particularly hard by the trade war, as nearly 80% of all toys sold in the U.S. are made in China. The impact on some companies is so devastating, they're even suing the Trump administration.
Of course we had to fight. I can't accept a knockout punch.
Rick Goldenberg is the CEO of Learning Resources, a Chicago-based company selling educational children's toys, 60% of which are made in China.
We will run out of product, and retailers will run out of product. That is absolutely certainly going to happen.
At what point is the tariff slapped on the merchandise, and who has to pay for it?
Well, you're looking at who has to pay for it. It has to be passed on for our companies to remain financeable. They can call it tariffs or whatever they want, but it's a tax, and they've turned our company into a tax collector.
Those at the forefront of this supply chain chaos are clear that any financial pain will be passed on to the public.
Assuming that these tariffs remain in place, all of these charges actually get pushed down to the consumer.
In the whirlwind of tariffs, it's higher prices and rough seas ahead. Christy Stout, CNN, in the Port of Hong Kong.
The Trump Media and Technology Group is attempting to launch an exchange-traded fund that will invest entirely in cryptocurrencies. If approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission, their Truth Social Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF would give investors exposure to the world's two largest digital currencies. This comes after Trump Media raised $2.5 billion to create a Bitcoin treasury for the company. New filings are expected to raise more concerns about conflicts of interest surrounding the president's business empire. A tsunami of tourists is having ugly consequences at the world's most famous art museum. Staff at the Louvre took industrial action Monday in protest over unmanageable crowd sizes, chronic understaffing, and working conditions. Their spontaneous walkout left tourists waiting in line underneath the glass pyramid. 8.7 million people visited the home of the Mona Lisa last year. That's more than double what the museum's infrastructure was designed for. And even though President Emmanuel Macron unveiled a sweeping plan to renovate the museum, staff say those changes just can't come soon enough. And we're getting live images now of President Trump as he leaves the G7 summit in Canada. He's leaving a day earlier. This time he is about to board Air Force One. It's on the tarmac there in Calgary. Time out 54 minutes past 10 there in Canada. The president expected to be boarding Air Force One any moment now as he gets back to Washington. He has ordered his security team together at the situation room for a briefing and one of the ready Iran conflict. And then continues. We will bring you the very latest. In the meantime, thank you for watching CNN Newsroom. I'm John Ball, back with more news at the top of the hour. Watching CNN.
In wintertime, Mongolia is one of the coldest countries on Earth. Temperatures can reach minus 28 degrees Celsius. The perfect climate for 18-year-old Jadamba Naropatar to train in the sport he loves until the seasons change.
It wasn't a good day for training today because the river is cold in some places. This is an obstacle in trying to reach the level that I want to get to.
Ice hockey is a small but growing sport in Mongolia. There are few professional grade indoor ice rinks like this one, but Jadamba says things are changing with the new Ice Hockey Academy. Since joining, Jadamba has been accepted at goal is national team and hopes to attend the 2029 Asian Winter Games.
It requires immense courage when you are representing Mongolia. The ultimate dream is to get into the NHL.
If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault and you don't have an attorney, don't go it alone. We have legal professionals standing by to let you know what your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Paula Haddock, your Wisconsin Chronicle. So, Rob, please tell viewers at home who should be calling in right now.
Well, Paul, it's just like you said. Anyone who's been injured in an accident that is not your fault, you do not have an attorney, give us a call right now. We have professionals standing by ready to answer all of your questions and let you know your case is potentially worth.
Calls are coming in so far.
Don't want to receive calls with all types of accidents today. But it is a great group of people behind us. They're here to answer your questions and help you today. So I want to remind all of you at home, you've been injured in an accident that is not your fault, or you've received a low insurance coverage. Give us a call right now. We'll let you know your case is really worth.
Thanks so much, Rob. So take action, call down, and find out what your case is really worth.
One of 7 natural wonders of the world, the Great Barrier Reef, is under threat. But marine biologist Emma Camp is leading an expedition of hope.
If we give corals a chance, they can recover.
The team is looking for the ocean's toughest species that could help save the reef.
Corals want to try and survive.
Discover how science, innovation, and resilience are rewriting the reef's future. Call to Earth, searching for super coral. Saturday on CNN.
Just called your bill. It's disgusting.
Yeah, let me say this. It's very disappointing.
Who's sharing that criticism? It's hard to do.
The new spending on this bill actually exceeds all work he did to track on savings.
Are you worried that this bill could really drive up national debt?
Big beautiful bill is big, not a lot of it is beautiful.
There is ample frustration within the bank. I'm all concerned. This is CNN.
With an option like Plan B, we're in control.
Plan B temporarily delays ovulation to help prevent pregnancy before it starts.
It won't impact your future fertility, and it's safe to take anytime you need it.
Together, we've got this.
A vacation with Norwegian Cruise Line is so much more because there's more included. Like unlimited drinks, amazing meals, amazing restaurants, plus free Wi-Fi. Hey, I gotta go. I love you. Did I mention unlimited drinks? Hello. And excursion credits so you can explore even more. I love more. Get more out of your vacation with Norwegian's More at Sea. Experience more with Norwegian.
3 Explode Jägermeister shots, please. Also,
Service cold, don't serve it trouble. Jägermeister, damn, that is cool.
I'm safe.
This is CNN News.
Hello and welcome to our viewers in the United States and all around the world. I'm John Walsh. You're watching CNN News. Israel and Iran are exchanging deadly back-and-forth attacks as the White House weighs its next move. A few hours ago, the Israeli military warned of a new Iranian missile attack, ordered civilians to head to bomb shelters and safe rooms. Sirens have been heard across the country. In Iran, state media reports air defenses have been activated over Tehran as a number of explosions have been heard in the capital. A local official says Iran has shot down an Israeli drone near the country's Natanz nuclear facility. Meantime, the US president on his way back from the G7 meeting in Canada, in his words, for obvious reasons, also told his national security staff to convene in the White House situation. Earlier, Donald Trump posted, Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame, what a waste of human life. Simply stated, he went on to write, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. The Israeli Prime Minister says the strikes have set back Iran's nuclear program, quote, a very, very long time, but also made clear that additional targets remain. During an interview with ABC News, Benjamin Netanyahu refused to rule out assassinating Iran's supreme leader.
So are you going to target the supreme leader?
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details. But we've targeted their top nuclear scientists, basically Hitler's nuclear team.
But U.S. officials tell us that the president flatly rejected a plan, an opportunity that the Israelis had to take out the supreme leader. Do you understand his concern? And my understanding is his concern that this would escalate the conflict beyond where it is already.
It's not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict.
Joining us now live from Tel Aviv is Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces. Colonel, thank you for being with us.
Thank you and good night.
So what is the latest information on where and how many Iranian missiles have actually been fired at Israel in this latest wave? How many have been intercepted and how many have not?
Well, night was the least tactical night by the Iranian attacks beginning of this operation. Just a few missiles and no hits during this night, and I think that is important to explain why that is happening. We've been in the last 48 hours, more than even the beginning of this operation, operating what we can call missile hunting in Iran, finding those missiles before they're launched, finding those missile launches, and the bottlenecks for launching missiles towards Israel, and taking them out one by one, finding them, striking them, and neutralizing them. And we've seen the results last night, and we're still operating currently as we're speaking about above Iranian skies.
Just in terms of numbers of missiles, do you have a specific number? Would you put it in, say, dozens of missiles above?
We're still assessing the situation after this night, but it looks like single-digit numbers. And Israel was successful in intercepting those who came towards Israel, and we're happy we can say this night is over without any significant hits on the Israeli public, on the Israeli population. Iran has been targeting the center of our populated areas, targeting civilians, and glad to say that this night was over, in Israel this night was over without serious impacts or hits on the Israeli population.
It's just got 3 minutes past 8 there in Israel. So what's the latest advisory for Israeli civilians with regards to bomb shelters and safe routes at this hour?
Well, Israeli civilians are always advised to be by the bomb shelters. At this time, we understand this operation operating in Iran. We understand the threat from Iran isn't over yet, so our people are advised to take those shelters, to listen to the home command. Only essential workers are working today. There are no schools, and so, of course, the people, Israelis, are sleeping. They're not in the bomb shelters. They're resting, whatever it may be. And then when a situation comes, we'll give them a warning, and then they can get into the safe room. But again, we've seen great success in the last 48 hours hunting those missiles. More than a third of their missile launches we have been able to eliminate. We have been able, in many dozens of occasions, to find those missiles in real time in Iran. We're intercepting them in Iran now, not intercepting them above our skies, because we have created the freedom of aerial operation in many parts of Iranian skies, and we are locating and neutralizing those threats to our people.
The Iranians claim that an Israeli drone was shot down over the nuclear facility there. What can you say about that?
Well, the Iranians, since the beginning of this operation, have been putting up fake news about incidents regarding our aircraft. I think that they've already 4 or 5 times claimed that they've downed one of our fighter jets. I do not know to this moment of any hits or any damage to our aircraft in Iranian skies. I can tell you our aircraft are safe. I can tell you all our pilots who are operating in Iran have returned safely. But we have to stay vigilant. We have to stay on our guard to make sure this is not a simple operation. And people are starting to take it for granted, but we're operating over 1,000 miles away from Israel. Our aircraft are operating hours at a time, and
well, that's the Western Wall.
All the way from Western Tehran to Western Iran to Tehran, and we're extending that
Here we go. The transponders on one of four post-op vans making runs around the city. Work in pairs, driver and navigator photographer, and use the Tractify app on your phone to find the vans. We've got a limited time before the van we need goes out of circulation. Tractify uses a signal on your phone to tell you when you're going in the direction of a target, but it's not very good at distances. If the two teams communicate, you should be able to locate them quickly. And we can all go back to our pre-bait tube sites. When you do find a van, send me an image of its license plate. I've got them all, I'll run the numbers against that database and tell you which van you need to stay on.
Early concept of that thinking getting back to what the White House really wanted to have security together in the situation, but it was also pushing for a meeting with the Iranians at some point in the coming days to try and a last-ditch effort at diplomacy to end this conflict, also crafting some kind of deal. Let's bring in CNN for Hancock's life down more on all of this. And just before we get to the IDF, so far this seems to be a very one-sided conflict.
What's wrong with something is for this related to the very different in Israel when we saw Sunday from the from Iran Sunday to Monday. It's not to worry to stand for the point of the IDF and see some of them getting through causing significant damage. Now what we're seeing, of course, is slowly, of course, in Tel Aviv, Israelis that they would not be warning, but then of those missiles that actually did get through. Now, the IDF was saying that it was said
That's good. Clear shot of the plate. Now give me the rest of them.
Sheltering in the metro, the sheltering.
Don't send me shots of your privates or the sunset, or your private bits at sunset. I just want shots of license plates, no filters, and definitely no hashtags.
And what we are seeing is that many are trying to flee the city, not least after the US President Donald Trump said that citizens should evacuate Tehran, not making it entirely clear why he was making that call. But we have been seeing gridlock getting out of the city, people desperately trying to get to more rural, more isolated areas, knowing that they are very exposed within Tehran itself. So certainly when it comes to the citizens, the civilians on both sides, those in Israel are far more protected than those in Iran are. And the fact that we see Israel saying, rightly, it appears, that they have air superiority in much of Iran, also goes to show that at least militarily at this point, Israel does appear to have the upper hand. Now, whether, of course, it can achieve its objectives of destroying or setting back the nuclear program, that's really a different question, John.
So what happens right now with the Israelis having the upper hand from a military point of view, that doesn't lend itself really to a diplomatic solution here, which is what the White House and the US President will at some point later this week in meetings with the Iranians to go through the ceasefire.
Well, that's right. It certainly doesn't appear to just be coming from the American side at this point. Any talk of diplomacy, we're not hearing that from the Israelis. We're hearing from Prime Minister Netanyahu, for example, that they are not targeting the Iranian people, that they respect the Iranian people. This is just about
Tractify uses a signal on your phone to tell you when you're going in the direction of but it's not very good on distances. If the two teams communicate, you should be able to locate them quickly. And then we can all go back to our clickbait and tube sites. When you do find a van, send me an image of its license plate. When I've got them all, I'll run the numbers against their database and tell you which van you need to steal.
It's not particularly popular and certainly not supported by the majority of Iranians. But we're not hearing talk of diplomacy from the Israeli side at this point. What we are hearing is the military successes, and it's the US president who is saying, according to US officials for the situation, that he has asked his security people to reach out to the Iranians to see if there's a possibility of having some kind of discussion, some kind of talks later this week. He's still far more focused on finding a diplomatic result to this, the Israeli side. And bear in mind, this is the president that wanted to do for many, many years. He has wanted to militarily target the nuclear program in Iran. He has seen an opportunity in a do that with the president of the United States. So the overall opinion among many experts and analysts who follow this closely is that he's unlikely to give up until he feels he has sufficiently damaged the nuclear program that he will not be able to get back in line with the government.
Well, it's too long to flip flops. One is, yeah. That job that's more than quite some time. What he said now, and it's in line. That goes. And like all companies, it's 8 o'clock. But I think that I get to the go, brand price for that.
Also, walking. I forgot to announce. I started using outside. The free and Vegas page from this get beautiful get I get real cash every time I get I actually have to anything. I'll make around $200 to $300.
That's good. A clear shot of the plate. Now, give me the rest of them.
Right. You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash?
Don't send me shots of your privates or the sunset, or your private bits at sunset. I just want shots of license plates, no filters, and definitely no hashtags.
$5,000. That's the average monthly people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you've got to download Upside, a free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. Cash back with Upside. Just run the gas you're already buying. Download the free Upside app now. Earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code REPAIR25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank.
Did you download the outside app yet? Yes, of course. It's free.
Just download the free Upside app and use promo code REPAIR25 for 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. If you drive, you need Upside. Earn cash back on every gallon of gas you buy. Plus, you can cash out anytime with your bank, PayPal, or a gift card. Amazon and other brands. So whether you're driving around town a couple times a week or driving hundreds of miles every day, Upside is for you. Wait, some Upside users making as much as $100. Download the free Upside app and use promo code REPAIR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code REPAIR.
All right, I got another picture. I still need some more, though.
If you've been injured in an accident, not your fault, and you don't have an attorney, don't go alone. We have legal professionals standing by to let you know what your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Paula.
Well, Paul, it's just like you said. Anyone who's done an accident that was not your fault, you do not have an attorney, give us a call right now. We have legal professionals standing by ready to answer all of your questions and let you know your case is potentially worth. Well, we're seeing calls with all types of accidents today. Look at this great group of people behind us. They're here to answer your questions and help you today. So I want to remind all the viewers at home, if you've been injured in an accident, it was not your fault, or if you received a low offer from the insurance company, give us a call right now, and we'll let you know your case is really worth.
Thanks so much, Ron. So take action. Call now and find out what your case is really worth.
The discover elevated design and quality craftsmanship and timeless sophistication. Voices mix many shades. The details remain the same. Elevated design for thoughtful living. Explore the collection at Figma.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degraded? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit legacybox.com.
Screw this Iberian cast. It's something in there. Well, use this then.
Trackify uses the signal on your phone to tell you when you're going in the direction of a target, but it's not very good on distances. If two teams communicate, it should be able to locate them quickly. Backdoor group means two sites. When you do find a van, send me an image of its license plate. When I've got them all, I'll run the numbers against their database and tell you which van you need to steal.
Leaders at the G7 summit in Canada have signed a joint statement calling for a resolution to the Israel crisis. US officials say Donald Trump was initially reluctant to support that resolution, but eventually signed the statement after changes to the language. The final version calls for the protection of all civilians in the conflict. It also refers to Iran as, quote, the principal source of regional instability and terror. It says Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. President Trump has now left the G7 a day early to monitor the Israel-Iran crisis. He has suggested he could soon strike a diplomatic deal to end the conflict. Sources told CNN the U.S. president has directed his team to try and set up talks with Iranian officials as soon as possible sometime this week. CNN's Chris Holmes has details now.
President Donald Trump leaving the G7 early. He was supposed to spend Tuesday with several meetings as well as holding a press conference, but Monday, the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, posted that after the day that Donald Trump had a series of good engagements, that he needed to get back given what was going on in the Middle East. Now, I talked to a number of White House officials who said throughout the day, Donald Trump kept asking to be briefed on what exactly was happening in the Middle East, where things stood between Iran and Israel. And it became clear as things began escalating in the Middle East that it would be better for him, at least they believe so, to be in Washington with all of his officials nearby. They are likely going to convene in the Situation Room. I do want to note one thing that I was told by a White House official is that their posture has not changed. We've seen a lot of speculation swirling about why he left early. Was it the change in posture from the United States? We are told pretty definitively that at this time, of course, anything can change, at this time, the U.S. is still maintaining a defensive posture, meaning they are helping Israel with deflecting, with interfering with those missiles. They have used the argument that there are U.S. military assets in Israel they need to protect. There are U.S. citizens in Israel they need to protect, but they are not at this point going on the offensive. Now, part of that reasoning, we are told, is that Donald Trump is still really hoping to get Iran to the table in terms of a nuclear deal. They are hoping to have their top intermediaries meet, their top officials meet to try and work something through. And throughout the last several days, Donald Trump has been urging these officials, these U.S. officials, to maintain contact with their Iranian counterparts, but not them, with the intermediaries around the globe to try and ensure that this still happens, that Iran comes to the table. We've obviously seen him calling for that publicly as well. So unclear what the next steps are going to be, but right now what we do know is that Donald Trump is not staying the full time at the G7. He had a set of meetings on Monday and then is heading back to Washington. Kristen Holmes, CNN, Calgary.
And according to French President Emmanuel Macron, Donald Trump has put forward a ceasefire proposal to try and end the Israel-Iran crisis.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. Listen, there is an offer that has been made, indeed, of meetings and exchanges. There is an offer that has been made, especially to have a ceasefire and to initiate broader discussions. And I think this is a very good thing. And so if the United States of America can achieve a ceasefire, it is a very good thing, and France will support it, and we wish for it. Then I say it is absolutely essential that all strikes from both sides against energy, administrative, and cultural infrastructures, and even more so against the civilian population, cease. Nothing justifies this, and they are absolutely intolerable.
Flight now to Tehran, 51 minutes past 8 there on Tuesday morning. Abbas Aslani, a journalist and researcher, senior research fellow at the Center for Middle East and Strategic Studies, joins us. Aslan, thanks very much for taking the time. Just very quickly, can you explain or just describe what the situation is like in Tehran right now? People have been fleeing the city. It's been hit by repeated Israeli airstrikes. Do you feel safe? What's it like being
Uh, Many are yet staying in the are working remotely from home and are avoiding any unnecessary commutes. So, you know, things are going somehow, smoothly. No cuts in power or let's say issues related to the energy. However, we have been seeing that in the past couple of days, Israel has been trying to create a sense of fear and intimidate the public in order to escape from the city. Or I think one of the main points have been to create a chaos in the capital city against the government. But what we are seeing from the public, even including those who have been critical of the government and establishment, is calling for a strike or response against Israel, and they have been supporting what Iranian armed forces have been doing in reaction against Israeli aggression.
So the Israeli airstrikes have rallied the public around the leadership there in Tehran?
Yes, it has rallied the people around the flag. If the point and the aim was to provoke them to come to the streets and protest against the government, it has worked the opposite, and they are now supporting the government. And yesterday, when Israel targeted the Iranian TV station, this also created a sense of more support for the government. And when the anchor didn't leave the studio after a couple of blasts, she has changed a kind of let's say, hero on the social media, and the users have been supporting her. So when, in case of external threat in Iran, people normally become more united. Even
Alright, call me later. I'd never fit in that car. That's a hell of a ride you got. Did he throw up in the back seat yet?
Okay, I'm going to bed. I'm tired. Oh God, my throat is killing me. Jesus Lord. Closer than just friends, bitch. Okay. Oh wow. I will see y'all. Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Today's Tuesday. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll see y'all later in the evening. Y'all have a great night, and I will see y'all later.